What's going on, guys? Another knife to review today. We're looking at the Kershaw Cryo. A lot of interest in this knife. It's nothing new. It's been around for a couple of years now. In fact, back in 2012, this won an award at Blade Show for Best Buy of the Year. So the heavy title on that. As you can see, it is an assisted opening frame lock knife. This is a smaller version. There is a Cryo 2. Which is a little bit bigger, which I would be interested in buying in the future or trading for. But anyway, I just want to give you another quick look at this. I like the black and gray together. It's a really nice two-tone. The gray on here is basically titanium nitride coated, so they can get nice solid colors. So the handles do match that blade. Blade is 2.75 inches of 8CR13 MOV. It's hollow ground drop point. Very cool. The 8CR13 MOV honestly is not a bad steel. It's definitely on the softer side. We're talking about a $30 knife, in and around 30 bucks. Just depends on where you buy it from. You know, lately I've been using some of the top steels, you know, that are out there. So it definitely fell short for performance for me, but that's just based on my recent activity with knives. Using a lot of M4 lately, some S30V and such. So, you know, the 8CR13 MOV is definitely a downgrade in steel, but overall not bad for 30 bucks and quite expected. Honestly, you know, at this point, if you're getting into knives to use them, you really should learn how to sharpen, or at least get yourself a cheap sharpening system and just maintain your edge. If you do have the capability of maintaining your edge, then you're not going to be too disappointed with the steel. But if you have no idea how to sharpen your knives, after about, I don't know, 2 months of use, you're going to have a dull knife. It's just how it is. So anyway, our body here is 3.8 inches long. It is stainless steel, okay, solid stainless, which is actually surprising that the weight isn't all that much. It's definitely a smaller knife. It's only 4.1 ounces though. Having an all stainless knife, I kind of was expecting over 5. So nice little surprise there. 6.5 inches overall. And it carries very nicely in the pocket. I'm going to talk about the puck clip in a second here. But like I said, I was a little surprised that, you know, it wasn't heavier being an all stainless steel knife. Now, I have been using this in the cold, so just like my last review on the Spyderco, the Sage, the titanium Sage, you know, metal knives in the cold just don't work. It's very cold in your hand. Just something to consider. You know, when it's warm out, it doesn't make a difference, but people often forget that when you're talking about metal handles and stuff, it does feel very cold when it's cold outside. Okay, I don't have too many problems. Like when it's super hot outside, it's not like the knife gets super hot unless it's sitting in the sun. But the cold, it doesn't matter if it's sitting in your pocket. It gets very cold. And I did experience that in carrying, using this in the dead of winter, especially this time of year, or this particular year when it's been like negative degrees. So anyway, we're looking at a Rick Hinder design, obviously a very popular maker out there. It's a very cool design overall. I really like it. From the factory, it comes in a tip-up right-hand carry position. You can see the pot clip right there. It's a thin clip. I had no problems with it at all. Carry very nicely in the pocket, mainly because it's not sitting on any kind of texturing. It's a nice smooth surface right here. It's right behind that lock bar stabilizer, which we'll talk about in a second. But it carried very nicely. Again, that's basically the profile you're going to get when it's carried in the pocket. You can rotate this clip and swap it. It's basically set up for all 4 positions. All right, so you can see it's drilled out and tapped, okay, for tip up, tip down, left or right hand carry, which is very nice. I do like, again, how all the hardware and the thumb stud is black. It's nice little contrast to this knife, as well as the lock bar stabilizer. All right, I want to point out here that the lanyard hole is actually a drilled out standoff. All right, let me zoom in, get a little bit more detail that way. All right, so you can see that we have standoffs here. It's an open frame design, but usually it's just like a tube for the lanyard hole. And in this case, it's just a larger standoff, which is a nice little detail. It is oversized. If you do like to, you know, throw lanyards on your knives, you'll like that. It is a ambidextrous knife in that it has a double thumb stud. Okay, it is assisted. All right, so you push that a little bit, and the spring takes over. There is a flipper on here, as a lot of the Hinder designs have. I do tend to use the flipper on this one just because it's a little bit smaller. Sometimes even assisted, if it has a flipper and studs, I'll use the studs to flip it open. But it's poking out there. You can't help but just grab that. It's very easy to use. It shoots out pretty damn fast, again, because of its size. Has a pretty strong spring in there, but not a super heavy blade, so it does shoot out very nicely. Lockup is great. This is a frame lock. You see there's a lockup right there. Again, this has a lock bar stabilizer, which basically is just a disc, okay, that does not allow this lock bar to move over more than that, okay? The real purpose behind it is so that you don't overextend your lock bar. And it personally never happened to me, but some of the Chinese knockoffs and stuff, sometimes when people go to unlock their frame lock, the difference between a frame lock and a liner lock, obviously, is the frame lock is part of the frame. So you have the chance, although rare, you have the chance of pushing this so far over that it bends this out of shape. And if it bends out of shape, it'll never lock up right anymore. It's all kinds of messed up. With a liner lock, you don't have to worry about that because the liner, worst case scenario, gets stopped by the scale. But again, this is open. Picture this as a liner lock without a handle on it, you know? So again, although rare, you have that chance of overextending it and ruining your knife. That little disc there prevents that from happening. So it's just a nice little touch. It's not totally needed. I see it as a cool little bonus. It's definitely not a must-have for me. Like I said, I never had a frame lock bend down on me from overextending it. Anyway, you can see the centering here is very nice for a production knife. It's like maybe a hair to the right. It's not completely dead on, you know, but honestly, I don't care. I'm just showing you because you might. As long as my blade doesn't rub on the handles, I don't really care about that blade centering too much. There is jimping on the back here. It's also a very, very slight ramp. I wouldn't really consider a thumb ramp, but it's a slight angle change where your thumb kind of locks in pretty good. It's not overly aggressive, which is nice. It's kind of smooth jimping, but it's deep, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's cut pretty short, but it has very sharp angles. This is smoothed out nicely, which I like a lot. There's also jimping on the inside here. Okay, in reverse grip, it's actually a very nice feel. The one thing I don't like about this knife, and I noticed it the second I opened it up, is that obviously, because we have the flipper here, it's going to double as our guard. Now the bottom here is squared off pretty good. And because it's squared off, and because it's a smaller knife and I tend to, choke up and try to fit all my fingers in that grip, it's actually, you can see how 3 fingers very comfortably fit in here. Then there's an angle change where your pinky kind of rests. And, by design, they understand that most people's hands are going to be larger. It's going to be basically a 3-finger grip, possibly 3.5. But you can see those 3 land very nicely there. The pinky wants to just kind of hang right there, just where it's meant to be. But I tend to choke up on that. Because of it, I'm putting a lot of pressure up on my pointer finger here inside of this area. And it just tends to be uncomfortable. And like I said, I noticed that right out of the box, and particularly when using it in this grip. When I'm using this knife, I tend to not hold it in a tight grip like this anymore. I tend to hold it like this. Okay, and that's how I'm kind of ripping open boxes and stuff. It just ends up being too uncomfortable. With all the rounding they did, and the chamfering, it's all around the handles here. Very nicely done, by the way. I would have really liked it to see it right here. Now again, for 30 bucks, it's hard to ask for this, that, and the other thing. That's the difference between, a cheaper knife and a more expensive knife, for all these extra details and extra processes in manufacturing. But with this particular knife, I mean, it's really, really nice, but it would be like a total home run if they really rounded that out. Something that's a little uncomfortable is a big downer for me, honestly. As much as I love the look of the knife, the quality, I mean, for 30 bucks, it is a really good knife. I'm not a huge fan of assisted knives. I would much prefer a manual knife. It's just preference, though. This assisted knife is very nicely done. If you are into assisted knives, it's nice and fast, nice clean lockup, which is good. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I do like the fact that there's a little bit of a blade choil here. Okay, makes for a nice sharpening. Again, attention to detail. That nice little cutout right there makes all the world of a difference. You can get every tiny millimeter of your blade nice and sharp. I don't like that abrupt change, when you don't have a blade choil, you get that weird section that's usually like 1/8 of an inch or so, and it's kind of like all jacked up. I don't like that at all. So even on cheap knives, when I see it like this, it's extra exciting, especially on cheap knife. But it's almost expected on some of the more expensive ones out there. But anyway, I'm a fan of the design. It works great. Like I said, I can use an upgrade in steel, but I'm not going to complain for the $30 price tag. I think it's a winner. I'm a big fan of it. After using this, I would like to use the larger Cryo 2 now. I do think that, all my critiques on this knife could be fixed with a larger version. and they already have one. So that's pretty much it. So if you're thinking about getting the Cryo, I wouldn't hesitate on it. Kershaw's done a really good job in the last couple of years, particularly the last 2 years, on just coming in with tons and tons of awesome new models, and very, very affordable and very accessible. Some of the real cheap stuff, like the $15, $20 knives, you're finding all over the place, like Walmart and sporting goods stores. But the Cryo is definitely, one of my my favorite cheaper knives of 2015, even though it didn't come out in 2015. It's kind of it's new to me, even though it's not a new knife. So that's all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Post your comments down below if you own the Cryo. I know it's very popular. Let me know what you think of it, things you like about it, things you don't like about it. But overall, it's a good general EDC knife. The size, the weight, blade shape, the whole deal. And it, of course, fits a lot of people's budget. So hope you guys enjoyed the review. Hope you have an awesome, awesome day. And I will see you very soon. Take care.